exactly.
We are moving to a CV and cover letter part review. And here I wanted to say that we actually got a consent from this person to share personal details as well publicly.
All right.
Here I wanted to ask you, would you like to start with a job ad first?
Sure, we can take a look there.
So just a few words what you would pay attention to here.
They listed, well, the requirements and responsibilities. So for me, I would look for a few keywords here. So as I mentioned, Selenium with Python, robot framework, testing technology. So I would probably have a few keywords in mind there as well from the hiring manager. Then API is definitely something I would be looking for. Test case management as well. Well, then English would be something I'm looking for, but if the application is already in English, then I would assume they do speak English. And then just look, because these requirements are a little bit more broad. So ability to handle large systems, for example, I cannot kind of look for keywords, but I would definitely look for proof in the CV that they are able to handle those systems in some capacity. And then they mentioned background in healthcare. So I would look for that, but it's not an absolute requirement. So it's a plus, but doesn't need to be there. And then, of course, the other keywords, anything that she mentioned there. So there's actually quite a lot of requirements in this position. Seems like a more senior one. So I would probably also look for a few years of experience in the CV.
I will show her CV now.
So I must say that here I find it a little bit difficult to see the contact information and the skills and so on. It's also quite closely together. So if she would put even a little bit of spacing in between those sections, that would help. That would help a lot. But in general, she has her relevant contact information. WhatsApp and Telegram usually are not important in Finland. So we need a phone number, but not this kind of social media or messaging app contact. We don't usually need that. But great that she put GitHub there as well, because we are not allowed to check anything that is not provided by the applicant. So if she didn't provide her GitHub link, I would not be allowed to check her profile there. Same with LinkedIn.
Explain a little bit more, because I had the feeling that there is no legal, how to say it, nothing that stops me to Google the name of a person and go to social media profiles and check what the person does, even in private life. Of course, you can check it, but it's the first time I heard it's not allowed.
Actually, in Finland, it is not allowed, strictly speaking. So you have to provide, I can only use the information that you have provided. I'm not saying that people don't Google you at all, but strictly speaking, then I'm not allowed to use that information in the process. So I can only use what you have provided here. If you put your Instagram, I can check your Instagram. But if you don't put your Instagram, then I cannot check it, strictly speaking. So then anything you want people to have a look at, put it there. So usually that's the LinkedIn profile for most people, but it can be GitHub or some portfolio if you're in marketing or something. So definitely put it there. All right. I like that she's mentioning already some keywords in her introduction. So that is a short but to the point introduction, and has already some components from the job ad, if I remember correctly. So she mentions already Python and APIs and some processes that she's familiar with. So definitely a good thing to do. If you want to point them out more, you can bold them as well. So it kind of really sticks out. And then it looks good with putting the skills and stuff on the top. That gives me an easy overview of what you're able to do.
Is it the same for everyone, or for, in this particular case, IT, like software kind of?
I think for IT software, it's always good to point them out. You don't have to put them at the top, but maybe on the side or in some very prominent place. In other positions where you maybe don't have this kind of strict measurable technologies that you might think of something else, but you can always put what you want to see, what you want them to see, put it at the top or at the side very prominently. For marketing, if you can put some marketing tools, for example, or kind of social media channels that you are familiar with, or anything, that would be probably the equivalent for the developer here. But it depends on your role and on your skills and on the industry, definitely. And then in her experience, yeah, this is very common, and most people write CVs still like that. But it is not, maybe it's not very common, or it is common, but it's maybe better to change it up a bit. So instead of describing what you did, because if you're a test automation engineer, there would be certain tasks that you did that I would expect, because every test automation engineer does those. So it's no need necessarily for you to just list what you did. Rather focus on the value that you added. So that usually you write some achievements or some successes that you had in the role. So rather than, for example, saying I performed manual testing, which you are a test engineer, so I would assume you've done that. Change it up to I improved the performance of the app or the whatever you are working with by 33% or something like that. Numbers are always the best, but give some value in it. Not just I did this, but I achieved this. Or if you think you cannot think of achievements, maybe you're also very new to the working life, what you learned in that position, for example, what you improved by yourself there. So I think if you go further down, she has some of these achievements. So for example, in the next position, sped up developing permission tests by creating something. So if you put there still by how much you sped it up or how you did that more, then that's already a really good example of what I mean. Rather than just listing your responsibilities, focus on your achievements, maybe in a short version. And format-wise, I really like that you kept it very simple. So there's no need to use super fancy Canva templates or something. The content is what is important. So I need to be able to see what you did very quickly, easily. So this, let's say, simple Word document is really enough. I don't need any design elements or fancy thing there that is just kind of maybe disturbing the flow of reading. So focus on the content rather than the looks.
A question I have for you here. In the job posting that says proficiency in English, and here the person has B1 level. I mean, I know what B1 level means because I am a foreigner here in Finland. Could you elaborate a little bit more here? Like, is it enough? Is it too little?
I would probably say that if you fulfill the requirements, if I think like, wow, this person would be really good, we should interview them. but then I see, okay, English might not be enough, or maybe on the edge. I would probably have a conversation with her. So I would book a phone call, for example, with her to kind of see how she speaks, how she understands me. So, and if that is enough, usually it doesn't need to be super fluent. If we can have a conversation about her expertise in English, then that would be okay, I think. But it would need some further checking there. And if let's say she is not a really great candidate for that position, if I think, okay, it's not really a right fit, could be, but maybe not, I would probably not call her yet, but would keep her a little bit, let's say, in the loop, like in the short list, for example, and then depending on how it develops with the position and the applicants, then get back to her later.
I like the answer, thank you. Would you like to move to the cover letter?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I would recommend that you put this cover letter also in ideally PDF format.
Yes, that's 100%.
It's not very appealing to have it in that text format. You know, I know a lot of people do that, especially more technology oriented, but it does not really leave such a great impression if I have to open like a text editor thing. It's not so easily readable. But
also some computers might like not even have some softwares.
Yeah, exactly. So PDF is usually the safest choice that everyone can visually open and read the way you intend it to look also. And then really great that it's so short. So this is kind of, I would say, the length that you would be aiming for in a cover letter. And then I really like the first paragraph that she connects it to herself, that she has worn glasses all her life and that she's then interested in a project related to eye screening systems. So I think that really connects the dots really well. The second paragraph, I would say, this is just a repetition of stuff that is already in the CV. So it's not so necessary to put it there. You could be a little bit more elaborate about why this company specifically, apart from the eye screening, what else interests you there. And then also, as I said, the salary expectation shouldn't go in the cover letter, because if it's not read, they don't find out about it. And so better, if you want to make it so prominent, then put it in the CV. But usually companies have a field where they ask when you apply that how much would you expect. Then you don't need to put it anywhere else extra. That's totally enough. It is not expected that you put your salary expectation in your application if it's not asked from the company.
A question here immediately that I have, that I hear that the best cover letters include 3 parts. I hear it again and again, and I also like agree with that personally. One is why this company. Second one is why me. So talking about passions and about this particular role, for example. And the third one is actually elaborating more on 2, 3 core responsibilities or skills. You don't agree with the last part?
I don't agree with the last part, because think of your goal with an application that you have. The goal is not to kind of tell everything or even tell very detailed. The goal is to be invited for an interview. That's the goal that you have with CV and cover letter. So you want to spark curiosity. And if you have already, I mean, it's very nice, of course, if you can elaborate kind of on these responsibilities, but that will make it very long also again. And then it might not be read. If someone sees already like a page full of text, even if it's great text, but they might be, I don't have time for this. I have to go through 100 more applications. So then you spend all this time to write something beautiful that nobody ever reads, and it doesn't add any value. So if I can read this in 1-2 minutes, I will be definitely more willing to do that. And then you need to be really, really like intentional and very short about what you put in there. So I feel the why the company and why me is the best to put there, because these responsibilities, or let's say successes, achievements, you put them already in the CV, and then you don't need to go deeper in the cover letter. So ideally, you spark enough curiosity to be invited for an interview with your CV and very short cover letter. And then in the interview, then yes, you will be asked, and you can go more deeply into what you've done and what were your responsibilities. But yeah, that's why I don't agree with the last part.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. It was super clear. There is just no time to go through too much text.
Exactly, and as always, this is my perspective. So if you feel differently, and if you're confident, and if you feel it works for you, then by all means do that. Don't like now take it out because I said so. It needs to feel right for yourself. And if you measure success with your approach, then you don't need to change it to my approach because I said it. But be aware of, are you actually successful with what you're doing or not?
Rebekka, one last thing. If someone would like to book a call with you, for example, how to do that, how to connect with you?
I'm on LinkedIn. You can reach me there very, very well. I'm under my name, Rebekka Gotter. And also I have a website where you can see all the services I offer and also book them. So that website is jobboostbyrebekka.com. And you can reach me through there as well.
That's wonderful. Thanks a lot for your time today.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.